A small village, an outcast boy, and a secret buried deep within the sacred forest. What will Kofi do when he uncovers the truth about his parents? Will he have the courage to confront prejudice and overcome the daunting trials ahead? Join this extraordinary journey where forgiveness and sacrifice change everything. Once upon a time, in a small village hidden deep within the dense forests of Georgia, there lived a boy named Kofi. He was an orphan, taken in by a poor family in the village. Despite being kind-hearted and hardworking, Kofi could not escape the scornful gazes and harsh whispers of the villagers. Every step he took seemed to be shadowed by cold eyes and endless murmurs. The village children often gathered to mock Kofi. They called him the unwanted child, or the bearer of misfortune. These cruel taunts caused Kofi to withdraw into himself. He avoided gatherings and steered clear of others' gazes. Though he longed to belong, to be accepted, Kofi always felt an invisible wall separating him from the rest of the village. Kofi's adoptive family, though poor, tried their best to provide him with warmth and care. His foster mother would often stroke his head gently and say, "Don't let their words trouble you. What matters is that you live honestly and work hard." But her comforting words could not completely ease the pain in Kofi's heart. He often wondered, why am I treated this way? What did I do wrong? Loneliness crept into his every thought, into every breath he took. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the leaves, Kofi would quietly make his way to the stream behind the village. The cool, clear water reflected his small face, his eyes heavy with unspoken sorrow. He would sit there for hours, tossing small pebbles into the water, listening to the rippling sounds fade into silence. This was the only place where Kofi felt free from judgment, free from rejection. On long nights, Kofi often lay awake, staring at the star-filled sky, silently asking himself, who are my real parents? Why did they abandon me? Would I have been loved if they were still alive? His longing to uncover his origins grew stronger with each passing day. He yearned for the day when he might find answers, filling the void in his heart. One time, during a village gathering where everyone was enjoying lively stories, Kofi timidly approached, just to listen. But almost immediately, a man shouted, "What is that boy doing here? Bringing bad luck to us all." The laughter died down and every gaze turned to Kofi, full of disdain. He stood frozen, a wave of humiliation rising within him. Hot tears welled up and spilled over, but Kofi quickly turned away, hiding his pain. When he returned home, Kofi sat quietly on the porch, listening to the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. His foster mother came and wrapped her arms around him. "My dear, you are not alone. Even if the world turns its back on you, I will always be here." But the prejudice had already left a deep scar on Kofi's mind, making it hard for him to believe that his foster mother's love could heal all his wounds. One day, while wandering through the forest, Kofi stumbled upon a small, weathered charm engraved with strange symbols. He clutched it tightly in his hand, feeling a warm energy radiate through him. Could this be a sign from my parents? He wondered. This question ignited a spark within him, urging him to embark on a journey to uncover the truth. It was not just a quest to find his roots, but also a journey to rediscover himself, seeking acceptance and the courage to face the prejudice he had endured for so long. Though fear still loomed over him, Kofi's eyes now shone with a glimmer of hope. He understood that only by unraveling the mysteries of his past could he change the way the villagers saw him and free himself from the shadow of their judgment. The evening sunlight began to fade, streaming through the dense canopy of trees and painting the dirt path leading to the forest's edge in golden hues. Kofi walked slowly, his steps heavy, weighed down by endless thoughts. The wind rustled through the dry leaves, whispering secrets of the unknown. He often came to this place to escape the prying eyes of the villagers, seeking solace in the wild embrace of nature. But today, unease crept into every breath Kofi took. Suddenly, a hoarse voice called out from behind the thick trees. Why are you wandering here alone?" Startled, Kofi spun around. Standing before him was an unfamiliar woman. She wore a dark cloak, its hem brushing the ground, her long silver hair cascading over her shoulders. Her face bore deep wrinkles, yet her eyes shone brightly, radiating an uncanny gentleness. I was just taking a walk," Kofi stammered, stepping back cautiously. He realized this was Mama Zuri, the woman the villagers often referred to as the witch. Eerie tales about her were told around fires at night, stories of her casting spells and bringing misfortune, but her gaze now was nothing like the rumors. Mama Zuri smiled faintly, her voice warm and steady. "I know you, Kofi. Those strange dreams, they haunt you, don't they?" Kofi froze, his eyes wide with shock. How could she know about the dreams? The dreams of deep forests and distant voices calling his name through a thick fog. He had never shared them with anyone, not even his foster mother. Who are you? How do you know?" Kofi asked hesitantly, his voice trembling. Mama Zuri stepped closer, her movements so light they barely disturbed the ground. "I have lived here for a very long time. These trees whisper secrets to me that others cannot hear. You, Kofi, you hear the call from deep within as well. That is what you must understand." A chill ran down Kofi's spine. Yet, oddly enough, he did not feel afraid. Her eyes seemed to pierce through his soul, not judging, just quietly observing. Mama Zuri pointed deeper into the forest. "There is a secret, lying dormant in the darkness. If you wish to learn about your origins, you must have the courage to move forward. But remember, not all truths are easy to accept." Her words stirred something deep within Kofi, fear and curiosity intertwined, holding him still. He had always yearned to uncover the truth about his parents, about why he had been abandoned. But now, with the chance before him, he hesitated. Mama Zuri reached into her cloak and pulled out an old wooden pendant etched with mysterious symbols. She gently placed it in Kofi's hand. "This charm once belonged to your mother. It will guide you to where you need to go, but the decision must be yours." Kofi clutched the pendant tightly, feeling its warmth seep into his palm. His heartbeat quickened, urging him to step forward. His eyes turned toward the shadowy forest ahead, where secrets awaited. Mama Zuri chuckled softly, retreating into the darkness. Her voice lingered in the air, haunting yet gentle. "Listen to the call within your heart, Kofi. Do not let fear stop you from taking the next step." Kofi stood still at the forest's edge, gripping the charm in his hand. He knew from this moment on, everything would change. The choice was his, and he had to face whatever lay ahead. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to African Tales Best for more captivating stories. Nightfall descended, blanketing the forest in a thick veil of mist and darkness. Kofi stood at the entrance to the deep woods, his hand gripping tightly the charm Mama Zuri had given him. The cold touch of the wooden pendant, engraved with strange symbols, seemed to meld with the anxious rhythm of his heartbeat. Mama Zuri's words echoed in his mind. "Listen to the call within your heart, Kofi. Do not let fear stop you from taking the next step." Though fear gripped his soul, Kofi's feet carried him forward, step by cautious step, into the forest. The darkness swallowed him whole, leaving only the crunch of dry leaves beneath his feet and the incessant drone of insects in the air. Kofi felt as though the entire forest was watching his every move. Every branch, every rustling leaf seemed to whisper secrets he could not yet understand. As he ventured deeper, the air grew colder, thick with the damp scent of moss and decay. A chilling wind swept through, carrying with it a distant, haunting murmur. Kofi clutched the charm tighter, his eyes now glimmering with determination. Suddenly, a thin mist rose from the ground, curling around him, pulling him into another realm. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing before a massive stone gate, draped in vines and moss. Etched into its surface was the image of a colossal serpent, its eyes blazing with fire. Slowly, the gate creaked open. revealing a path that led deep into the earth. Kofi swallowed hard, fear bubbling within him, but he knew there was no turning back. The further he went, the stranger his surroundings became. The stone walls were covered in ancient carvings, glowing faintly under the dim light of luminous stones embedded within. A deep, resonant voice boomed as though rising from the depths of the earth itself. "Who dares intrude upon my sacred domain?" Kofi froze, his body trembling, but he willed himself to stand firm. "I am Kofi," he replied, his voice steady despite his fear. "I have come to seek the truth about my parents." Laughter erupted, echoing ominously throughout the cavern. From the shadows, a massive figure emerged. It was the serpent god, its sinuous form flowing like dark silk, its golden eyes boring into Kofi. Its cold voice slithered through the air. "Do you think yourself worthy of the truth? Prove your courage then." As the serpent god's words faded, the space around Kofi transformed instantly. A scorching wind swept past, carrying the acrid smell of ash and fire. When Kofi opened his eyes, he stood in the middle of a blazing field. Flames roared high, accompanied by the harrowing cries of anguish and despair. Before him, his foster mother knelt on the ground, trembling under the harsh glares of the villagers. Heavy stones were hurled at her as their angry voices thundered. "It's all your fault!" Panic overwhelmed Kofi, his heart feeling as though it were being crushed. He tried to run to her, but his feet felt leaden, as if chained to the ground. No matter how hard he pushed, he couldn't move forward. Reaching out in desperation, he screamed hoarsely, "Stop! Don't hurt her!" The serpent god's cold voice echoed through the chaos. "Will you choose to save your loved one, or will you continue to pursue the truth?" Fear threatened to consume Kofi. He looked into his foster mother's anguished eyes, the weight of helplessness pressing down on him. But then, a spark of realization ignited within him. This couldn't be real. Tightening his grip, Kofi shouted with resolve, "This is just an illusion. You're trying to frighten me. I won't be deceived." The moment his words rang out, the fiery field, the screams, and the chaos dissolved into darkness. Kofi stood panting, his mind a storm of emotions. The serpent god reappeared, its gaze flickering with a hint of surprise. "You have conquered your fear, but what of your greed?" A blinding light erupted, revealing a golden throne surrounded by piles of treasure, gold, jewels, and immeasurable wealth. Power and grandeur radiated from the scene. A honeyed voice whispered seductively into Kofi's ear. "Abandon the past, and all of this shall be yours. You will never be scorned again, never lonely. Embrace this power, and you will never need to fear." Kofi stared at the throne, temptations stirring within him. The allure of power flickered in his mind, drawing him closer. But then, the image of his foster mother appeared, her gentle eyes and kind voice cutting through the haze. Shutting his eyes tightly, Kofi clenched his fists and growled, "I don't need this. I only want the truth." Silence fell. The serpent god's laughter softened, losing its mocking edge. "You have overcome both fear and greed now. The truth shall be yours." A shimmering green mist coalesced before Kofi, taking the shape of a woman. Her eyes mirrored his own, filled with sorrow yet brimming with love. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but warm. "My son, your father and I had to leave you, to protect you from the curse of the sacred forest. Your father gave his life to ensure your safety." Kofi collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face. The emptiness in his heart was replaced by a piercing sorrow. In a choked whisper, he asked, "Why did it have to be him? Why did it have to be me?" The serpent god's voice resonated with a somber tone. "The truth often brings pain, but you have faced it with courage. You are worthy of carrying the legacy of your parents. Return now and live in a way that honors their sacrifice." The world around him faded into a blur. When Kofi opened his eyes, he stood once more at the forest's edge. In his hand, the charm now glowed with a warm, gentle light, cradling his heart in its embrace. He had found his answers, but he knew the trials ahead were far from over. In the distant mist, a faint silhouette flickered between the trees. A voice whispered through the wind, "The truth is only the beginning. Your journey is far from over, Kofi. Far from over." Kofi gripped the charm tightly, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Though the pain in his heart lingered, he no longer felt afraid. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Kofi stood still before the towering form of the serpent god, his gaze unwavering despite the grueling trials he had endured. The thick darkness surrounding him seemed to settle, leaving only the whispers of the deep forest and the heavy breath of the sacred being before him. The serpent god's voice was solemn, resonating as if it were one with the earth and sky. "You have proven your courage and determination. Now it is time for you to learn the truth you have sought. But remember, not all truths are easy to accept." Kofi tightened his grip on the charm in his hand, his heart racing with a mix of anticipation and faint dread. He was ready to face the truth, no matter how harsh it might be. A hazy mist swirled before Kofi, gradually forming faint images. The shape of a tall, imposing man emerged, clad in the armor of a warrior. His eyes blazed with determination and unyielding courage. The serpent god spoke slowly. "That is your father, a valiant warrior of this village. When disaster struck, the villagers sought to appease my wrath. A sacrifice was required, and the one chosen was you." The words struck Kofi like a cold, sharp blade, cutting deep into his soul. His eyes widened in disbelief. I was chosen to be sacrificed?" The serpent god nodded slowly, its gaze unflinching. "Yes. In their fear, the villagers chose you. But your father, he could not allow it. He willingly offered himself in your place, accepting death to save his son and the entire village." Kofi's heart felt as if it had stopped. The image of a father he had never known now stood vividly before him, a figure of immense sacrifice and bravery. But along with it came a searing pain that coursed through his body. Then, why did the villagers treat me this way? Why do they hate me? The serpent god's voice grew quieter, its tone colder, as though delivering a cruel truth. "Your father's sacrifice did not erase the fear and selfishness of humanity. They saw you as the cause of their misfortune, the reason for the death of their hero. Their guilt and fear turned to blame and hatred, driving them to shun you." Kofi felt as though he were drowning in a tidal wave of emotions. Memories of the cold stares, the mocking whispers, the rejection, all of it now made sense. Not because he was an orphan, but because they saw him as the reason his father had died. Hot tears spilled from his eyes, streaming down his face. His voice trembled as he choked out, "And my mother, where was she? Why did she leave me?" The mist swirled again, forming the image of a young woman with sorrowful eyes. "Your mother could not bear the pain of losing your father and the injustice you faced. She left the village, carrying her grief and anger, living in solitude in the deep forest. She believed that staying would only expose you to more cruelty. She thought that leaving was the only way to protect you from the wickedness of humanity." Kofi collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by anguish, the emptiness in his heart now filled with unbearable pain. He had once resented his mother, thinking she had abandoned him, but now the truth was far more agonizing. He realized she had left out of love, unable to endure the suffering. The serpent, God's voice softened, no longer cold, but heavy with wisdom. The truth always comes with pain, but it is a pain you must face to grow. Hatred cannot erase suffering. Only forgiveness can set you free. Return now, Kofi. Live in a way that honors the sacrifice of your father and the love of your mother. Slowly, Kofi rose to his feet, his eyes red with tears but burning with resolve. The pain still lingered, but he knew he could not let it consume him. Clutching the charm tightly, he held onto the faith it symbolized. "I will return. I will live, not for vengeance, but to change how they see me. I will live in a way that honors my father's sacrifice and my mother's love." The serpent god nodded faintly, its massive form fading into the mist. The world around Kofi blurred, then slowly returned to the tranquil quiet of the forest. As Kofi stepped out of the woods, the soft light of dawn pierced through the trees, illuminating his determined face. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Kofi was ready to confront them. The pain in his heart had transformed into strength, and though the truth was painful, it had given him clarity and a purpose to follow. Kofi trudged wearily back to the small house hidden deep within the dense forest. The evening sunlight filtered through the thick canopy, bathing the leaf-strewn path in golden hues. His mind was a storm of thoughts, his heart heavy with the painful truths he had uncovered about his parents. In his hand, he still clutched the wooden charm, as if holding onto a fragile link to his past. As the wooden door creaked open, Mama Zuri was already there, standing silently. Her deep, penetrating eyes seemed to see straight into his soul. The flickering firelight in the corner of the house illuminated her face, accentuating the deep lines etched by time. Mama Zuri quietly observed Kofi, saying nothing. Her silence felt like an invitation for Kofi to unburden the weight in his heart. Taking a deep breath, Kofi spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. "You were right. The serpent god revealed everything. My father sacrificed his life to protect me. The villagers hate me because of his death. My mother, she left because she couldn't bear the pain." Mama Zuri showed no surprise. Her gaze remained calm, though there was something hidden within it that made Kofi uneasy. She stepped closer, her voice warm yet carrying an air of mystery. "Kofi, you were brave to face that truth, but there is one more thing you do not yet know." Kofi froze, staring at Mama Zuri, a strange foreboding rising in his chest. "What do you mean?" Gently, Mama Zuri reached out and brushed her hand over the wooden charm in Kofi's grasp. She whispered softly, almost as if to herself, "This charm, it once belonged to your mother, and I am the one who gave it to you." The air seemed to still. Kofi's eyes widened, his body frozen. What are you saying?" Slowly, Mama Zuri lifted her head, her eyes gleaming as if they held the entire night sky. Her voice broke, trembling yet filled with love. "I am your mother, Kofi. It was I who left the village and lived in solitude for all these years, to protect you." Her words hit Kofi like a thunderclap. All sound around him seemed to fade into a distant hum. He shook his head, stumbling backward. No, that can't be. My mother abandoned me." "You can't be my mother." Mama Zuri stepped closer, her eyes filled with unspoken pain. "I didn't abandon you. I've been with you all this time, watching over you, following your every step, but I couldn't reveal myself. The villagers would never forgive me, and they would never leave you in peace. If I showed myself, you would be in danger." Kofi clenched his fists, his breathing quickening. A whirlwind of anger, pain, and confusion swirled within him. "You let me grow up in loneliness, endure their hateful stares, all because you were afraid?" Mama Zuri lowered her head, her voice breaking with sorrow. "I didn't want you to bear that burden, but I knew that if I stayed with you, it would only bring more suffering. I placed you with a family who could care for you, and every night I prayed for your safety." Tears streamed down Kofi's face, hot and unrelenting. He couldn't stop the overwhelming sense of betrayal, yet beneath it lay a deep and aching sorrow. "Why? Why are you only telling me this now?" Mama Zuri moved even closer, taking his hands in her own, frail but warm. "Because now you are ready. You've faced the truth about your father. You've overcome the serpent god's trials. And now you are strong enough to understand. Forgiveness is not weakness. Forgiveness is the only way to find peace." Kofi stood silent, his tear-filled eyes meeting hers. He didn't know whether to feel anger or compassion. The pain of years spent alone seemed to dissolve into the warmth of her touch. His voice shook as he asked, "What do I do now? How do I face the villagers? And my past?" Mama Zuri smiled softly, her gaze tender like a cool stream in the heat of the day. "Return to the village. Do not carry hatred in your heart. Show them that you are not a curse, but the heir to your father's courage. Live in a way that they cannot deny the goodness within you. That is how you can honor the pain your father and I endured." Kofi felt his heart begin to lighten. Though the pain lingered, a spark of hope ignited within him. He knew the road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time he no longer felt alone. He looked at Mama Zuri, the mother who had silently sacrificed everything to protect him. "I can do it. I will forgive. And I will face the past," Kofi said, his voice no longer trembling, but firm with resolve. Mama Zuri squeezed his hands, silent tears falling down her cheeks. "I am so proud of you, Kofi. Go now and find yourself." Kofi stepped out of the small house, the light of dawn slowly spreading across the forest. He knew the path ahead was fraught with challenges, but he no longer feared it. With the truth in his heart and his mother's love as his guide, Kofi was ready to face it all. The morning light filtered through the canopy, illuminating the path leading back to the village. Kofi stood silently at the village gate, the place that once suffocated him under cold stares and relentless whispers. But today, Kofi was no longer the fragile boy he used to be. A calm determination surged within him. In his hand, he gripped the wooden charm, a symbol of love, sacrifice, and forgiveness. Villagers began to gather as they saw Kofi return. Silence enveloped the air and wary, curious eyes turned toward him. No one spoke, and the only sound was the gentle breeze brushing against the thatched roofs. Taking a deep breath, Kofi's voice rang out, strong and unwavering. "My father, a brave warrior, sacrificed himself to protect this village. He bore no anger, no hatred. So why do we let fear and prejudice divide us?" His words pierced the hearts of those who listened, sharp as daggers. A murmur rippled through the crowd and the villagers' gazes began to shift. Those who once mocked him now lowered their heads in silence. From the shadows, Mama Zuri slowly stepped forward. She stood beside Kofi, her eyes kind but resolute. "Enough! It's time to let go of the past. It is fear and hatred that have made us small. Let forgiveness heal the wounds that divide us." A long silence hung in the air before the village elder spoke, his voice heavy with regret. "We were wrong. Wrong to let fear cloud our judgment. Your father was a hero, and we owe you an apology." One by one, the villagers began to bow their heads, their eyes heavy with remorse. An elderly woman, her hands trembling, stepped forward, tears welling in her eyes. "We're sorry, Kofi. We were wrong." Kofi did not respond with anger. Instead, he nodded gently, a soft smile gracing his lips. "We can't change the past, but we can write a new future. Let's do it together." The villagers approached, one by one, placing their hands on Kofi's shoulders. A silent promise of unity. The once heavy silence gave way to voices and laughter, a lively hum filling the small village. The invisible walls that had divided them began to crumble, replaced by understanding and solidarity. Mama Zuri stepped forward with measured grace, her warm voice resonating through the crowd. "Love and sacrifice are never in vain. Only when we learn to forgive and unite will this village truly thrive." The bright blue sky seemed to echo their newfound joy. The laughter of children rang out, mingling with the breeze and the scents of the countryside. Kofi stood in the heart of the familiar village, his eyes gazing into the distance. Though things were beginning to mend, he knew greater challenges awaited him. But now, he was no longer alone. By his side was his mother, Mama Zuri, the village, and the people who had once scorned him but now embraced him. Clutching the wooden charm tightly, Kofi made a silent vow. This is just the beginning. Greater things lie ahead. What do you think of Kofi's journey? Can he lead the village through the challenges to come? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Tales Best for more inspiring stories.